Hello. If you can't tell from the handle, my name is Buck. I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, to help explain SODAZ's fan film contract to those outside the Stalker community. I'll attempt to simplify more complicated parts of the lore, but will only be covering the surface aspect, explaining what certain things are and going a bit deeper now and again, but only with things like the emissions, certain factions, and whatnot. For those wanting to get deeper into the lore, the YouTube channel Into the Zone is an amazing resource for those wanting a better explanation. I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have done my job and given you all a surface-level explanation of all the weird, wacky, and fucked up aspects of the zone. So first things first, we have our main character hunting for artifacts and collecting one from an anomaly. I want to say that this artifact is, I think I'm gonna end up butchering this name, Kolobuk. Or Kolobuk? I don't know. But I do know it is a type of artifact that you would find in an anomaly like this. This isn't the only kind of anomaly you'd find out in the wild. There are gravitational anomalies, fire anomalies. This one in particular is an acid bath anomaly. And the commonality with a lot of anomalies is you step in one, you end up dying or being horribly maimed. But acid bath anomalies in particular, just being around them and breathing in the fumes that the acid produces will slowly kill you. And that's also why he's wearing a gas mask as well, as to protect himself from that. And as for the artifact itself, it has healing properties to it. So like if you attach it to yourself and say you get some sort of injury, equipping this, you'd recover faster. And there are other artifacts that you can find out in the zone as well that have different properties, and also vary in how valuable they are. In fact, the Kolobuk is one of the more valuable artifacts. Most factions would pay a small fortune to get their hands on it. So you'll have a lot of stalkers going around the zone artifact hunting, because there is a lot of money to be made from artifacts. Something you could probably compare it to is like the California Gold Rush, where you have a bunch of people doing prospecting work looking for gold. Except in this instance, they're far more than willing to kill each other if it means a bigger payday. Something else I feel is worth mentioning in this scene is the fact that the mercenary is using a secure container to put the artifact in. And in Anomaly, you have like a bunch of containers, like lead-lined containers, artifact application modules, and whatnot, meant to secure artifacts because two reasons. If kept outside of an anomaly or a container, the artifact will start to fall apart in your inventory, and two, they produce a certain amount of radiation over time. A lot of the world building and concepts we see in this animation are from Anomaly. I think that's something a lot of Stalker fans are going to notice the further in they get. This is where we're first introduced to the zombified stalkers. And if you can't tell already by the fact that they're holding guns, they're not traditional zombies. There isn't a virus going around infecting the stalkers. Instead, it is stalkers who have been turned into borderline vegetables. Their brains have been fried by a certain type of energy. I'm going to try not to get into psi energy in this video. With that, it feels like a bit of a rabbit hole where you then have to start explaining noosphere energy and then the noosphere itself and all that. That is just a whole other can of worms I do not want to get into. A stalker can become quote-unquote zombified by a multitude of things. For one, emissions. Those can, if you're exposed to them for long enough, they will, like I said, fry your brain and reduce you to a former shell of yourself that no longer has any control of their body. Think of the sunken place from Get Out, where you're reduced to a passenger in your own body. You're trapped inside of your body, but you have no control of it whatsoever. And the only way you'll ever be able to escape this is if you eventually die of radiation poisoning, or like this mercenary did, a stalker comes by and puts you out of your misery. It's a fate worse than death, and it's very, very horrifying, because it could happen to anyone. Oh boy, and this is where I get to my favorite part of the animation, where the Monolith comes in and just completely wipes the floor with the Ukrainian military. So if you weren't able to tell from me name-dropping them, these guys with the urban black and white camouflage and the beige vests, these guys are Monolith. Them waiting for the military to kill off all the zombies to then jump in and finish off the military, that wasn't just them encountering the fight and then jumping in. This is planned. They send the zombies to die first before sending in the hard hitters. So let's now talk about who Monolith are. Monolith are a cult that was founded in the zone, particularly in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. I say cult when in reality it's more like the zombies, and where they've been reduced to shells of their former selves, but at the same time though, not like zombies because they're capable of higher thinking. They can strategize. Anyways, like I said, cult founded in the zone. They worship a rock in the center of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, also called the Monolith, or Wish Granter by the outsiders. Something you'll observe when playing Stalker, the closer you get into Pripyat or Chernobyl, the more Monolith you'll start to encounter, and that's because their main goal as the cult is try and keep any outsiders from getting inside, and the ones that do get inside, they either end up being converted into zombies or even more Monolith by a device in radar known as the Brain Scorcher, or they get killed. In fact, looking at the scene again, I think it does take place in, like, the outskirts of Pripyat. I'm gonna have to say probably my favorite faction in the entire game, because just how batshit insane they are. It's not just insanity, it's also the fact that they are so convicted to their cause. They are so unwilling to fail that they will do whatever it takes in order to keep outsiders out of their territory. They're kind of like the Black Templars in Warhammer 40k, because they are more willing to die than fail their duty. And you know what? I respect that. Snorks. I fucking hate our main character. While looking for shelter in Pripyat, ends up finding a pack of Snorks in one of the buildings. I want to say they're made from the same process that like zombies and Monolith are made, wherein like stalkers end up accidentally stumbling into radar or caught in the middle of an emission, and they end up getting corrupted into this. But I think it's more a combination of that, as well as mutations brought on by the zone and radiation, pretty much reducing their brains down to a more feral, animalistic level. They have literally returned to monkey.
Слышишь? Шкерится как походу. Пацаны, чё у вас там за херня? Есть кто, нет? Опачки. Нормально, нормально. Ну ничего.
Here, our mercenary has a dream, heavily implying that there's a controller somewhere nearby. To give you an idea of how they work, think of the Dark Ones from Metro. In fact, I used to say a lot that Stalker's lore crawled so that Metro could walk, because a lot of Stalker's world building and lore is concepts that didn't really get the time to be fleshed out due to them having to crunch in order to get the games out. Whereas with the Metro games, since they're more linear and story-based, they had the time to flesh those concepts out, even though they were on crunch as well for both 2023 and I think Last Light. Anyways, getting off topic, as we see in this clip, hallucinations and like nightmares like that are signs that there's a controller nearby.
Впереди!
Да.
А ну, чики-брики! Сука! Блять! Сука!
Все чисто.
So part of me thinks these guys are part of the Ecologists, another part of me thinks that they're mercenaries, but the truth is, I don't really have any idea who these guys are. For now, I'm gonna say they're Ecologists, because, for one, they're speaking Russian, whereas all of the mercenaries that we encounter in the games are from Western countries like the US and the UK.
Shit! Goddamn shit!
And not only that, some ecologists just don't wear hazmat suits. It's mostly the blue uniforms that the three are wearing that's throwing me off, because mercenaries wear blue. And you'll notice a lot of the factions in Stalker have certain colors that designate them. So like red and black, you got Duty. White and black, that's Monolith. Freedom, it's multicam green, and so on and so forth. So yeah, for now I'm just going to say that they're Ecologists. I could be wrong. SODAZ might not have done as much research into the mercenaries as he did with the other factions. And they are supposed to be mercenaries providing the Ecologist security detail. Same time though, I could be right.
Вперед.
Снайпер!
Снайпер! Рассыпную!
Давим пулями!
Впереди!
Что за хуйня? Сука, блядь!
Назад! Уходим!
Goddamn shit! Мне хана!
Давай, давай! Команда!
And this is where we see an emission take place. I explained emissions to a friend a while back is essentially a buildup of noosphere energy that is suddenly and violently released into the zone. Sort of like shaking up a bottle of champagne and then popping the cork. Like I said, not gonna get into noosphere energy or the noosphere. Whole other can of worms, watch into the zone for the lore on that. Back to emissions, they tend to vary in strength. Most of them are accompanied by a storm and high-speed winds, while others bring with them hurricane-strength winds or even earthquakes. That same friend also asked me why the Ecologists just left that one guy behind to die, and it's like, it's a dog-eat-dog world in the zone, and not only that, taking them with them would have got them caught in the middle of the emission. Which, as I mentioned before about zombies, is not something you want. But as I mentioned before, yeah, this is one of the lower strength emissions.
Команда! Работаем.
Тихо. Ты слышишь?
This is a bloodsucker, something you should under no circumstances ever look up on Rule 34. Memes aside, the name pretty much gives away what they do. They can turn invisible and use this to their advantage to perform hit-and-run attacks against stalkers, and other mutants that they prey upon. Which is why the last place you would ever want to trap yourself in during an emission is a Bloodsucker Den.
Ура! Работаем. Хорошо.
Something we get to see in the animation that is never seen in-game outside of mods is the controller using their powers to possess someone. As you can tell from the eyes, yeah, he ain't there anymore. There's not really much else to say regarding the scene, just basic mind control, that's it.
Так, собрались.
Достал уже все это.
Не лажаем, парни.
Freeze! Go. Hey.
These guys that the Mercenaries doing business with are called UNISG. That stands for United Nations International Science Group. They were a cut faction from Clear Sky that made their way into Anomaly with the idea of word eventually getting out about the zone to the rest of the world and the UN seeking to research it. Why they would do a business with a mercenary or any of the other factions, I have no clue. as their presence in the zone is meant to be as part of a clandestine, sort of secretive operation. But I guess whatever is on that flash drive meant enough for these operatives to blow their cover. Alright, and that was a full explanation for Stalker Contract. I hope I did a good enough explanation. I hope I explained enough, at least for you guys to understand. I'm not really good at this narrative stuff. The amount of times I had to re-record some of the narration, I can't even count on my two hands. But I do want to do this again soon. Maybe with some of SODAZ's old 40k animations. He's also releasing a Fallout animation sometime soon. I would love to talk about that the day it releases. Anyways, feel free to subscribe if you want. Or don't. I don't tend to upload that often here anyways. And that's it. Hope you all have a good day and a good summer.
Cock and ball torture, Dr. Freeman. Cock and ball torture, or CBT. Penis torture or dick torture is a sexual activity involving application of pain or constriction to the